joining us today. My name is Johan Wikblad, and I'm one of the members of the tech support, mainly dealing with Mathcad, but also other softwares within the PDS Vision. So today we're gonna focus on Mathcad Prime 10, and we're gonna look at some of the features that are new. We only have about 40 minutes, so I have a quite ambitious goal, trying to cover as much as I can, but we will mainly deal with things that I think our customers are looking forward to most. So let's see. Let's jump into it. And I'm gonna switch off my camera here while doing this presentation. Let's see. What's new in Mathcad Prime 10? This is a webinar session mostly aimed for users that, well, are very familiar with Prime in general, Mathcad in general, Mathcad 15 as well. But if you have never been in touch with Mathcad Prime, there are some useful information in this session as well that you can pick up, and hopefully you feel like piqued your interest enough that you might start with this awesome software. So this is my agenda today. We have a general overview of some of the new features in Prime 10, mainly focus on 4 areas. There are application updates, numeric engine enhancements, and symbolic engine enhancements, and usability enhancements. But I will tend to focus a little bit more about application updates and usability enhancement, and just briefly go through numeric engines and symbolic engine enhancement. And the reason for that is I think most of our customers, at least the customers that contact the support team, doesn't work that much with the symbolic engineers, but there is a lot of improvements here as well. So we will just cover that very, very briefly. And one of the things that I would actually spend a little bit more time is the new advanced controls, and showing some example of use cases. And the goal is for me to inspire you and give you some ideas what can be done. I will not show exactly how you do it, but you can always come back and ask if you're interested in the material. We can provide that for you as well. So if there is enough time, I will also do a quick demo of the quasi-static animation. I have this worksheet where very, very simple introduction to the butterfly effect, but I will mostly focus on these two first and foremost. And then for those users who are still working on Mathcad 15, maybe, or well, you have to actually, because you can't buy Mathcad 15 anymore. Now is a good time to make the move to convert your Mathcad 15 worksheets to Prime 10. So in that regard, we were taking a little closer look at the conversion tool again and highlighting some of the new features in Prime 10. And specifically, what is getting converted, and what do you still need to put some extra efforts in to make it work. And the last 10 minutes or so, the aim goes to have a general discussion and question. So let's go with the application update. So I think one of the biggest things with the Prime 10 is now the advanced controls with scripting. And for those working with Mathcad 15, this is just the equivalent to active controls, the radio buttons and stuff like that. So now this ability is finally in Prime 10. So you have the various advanced controls, such as list boxes, radio buttons, check boxes, sliders, and text boxes. And these controls and their behaviors can have been changed and controlled using the scripting language. And in Mathcad 15, it was VB script, I believe. but here you have the opportunity to do in VBScript or in JScript. But I should point out that in Prime 10, both languages are supported, but moving forward, they will, according to PTC, they will only be focusing on JScript. So my advice is to actually, uh, find your way to work with JScript instead. Anyway, these advanced controls, they give the users more control over the functionality of each control object, and you can more or less be, tailored to your specific needs. And like I said just a minute ago, this feature is well known in the legacy Mathcad, and indeed, it's a very warm addition to the Prime platform. And like I said, we'll take a closer look at this later in the session, but I just gonna zoom in a little bit here. The new advanced controls, you can find them in the input output tab, and you just click input output tab, and there you have it. Another warm welcome to the Prime platform is subscripts and superscripts in text. It seems like, in every word editing software, this is a given, but it has not been in Prime until now. And subscript and superscripts in text, it's actually just for demo. If you don't know, just go to text. The subscript is, you can do the small or upper script, which is great. And you just find them here in the text formatting tab. And this will actually, in my opinion, give a much more seamless flow between moving between text regions and math regions. If you type some text which has a lot of variables with subscripts and superscripts, it's much more fluid, in my opinion. Okay, moving on. Choice of solving algorithm. In Prime 10, you can actually now choose which solving algorithm you would prefer when solving for some function and defined integrals. This option mainly applies to this one highlighted here, the PDA solve, ODA solve, null, gen, fit, polyroots, find, minimize, maximize, and min error. And I'm going to show you a little bit how that works, but essentially it's just right click on your mouse button over the current function, and there you have the options of go with the default, or just choose another options here. So I think I had another example here. If you have joined us, in previous years, I used to have a webinar with tips and tricks, and this is just the same example here where we're setting up solve blocks that they can be used in loops. And this example shows the relation between the friction factor and the pipe's roughness and the pipe diameter and Reynolds number. So by using the solve block, you can determine the friction factor if the following variables are known. And then we set up this solve block, and then we use it as, we define it as a function and the find here. And you can plot it. So what I wanted to show you just here is if you right click here, you now have the ability to choose which solver you would prefer, or algorithm, solving algorithm. So auto works mostly fine, but if I take something nonlinear SQP, does that work? Just click outside the boundaries, gives the same result. If I click nonlinear interior point, doesn't work. Well, not to my liking at least. So that's the one of the new functions. Auto select is mostly fine. Some numeric engine enhancement. Well, according to PTC, they have mainly focused their energy on lots of improvements in the PDA solve, solve blocks and stuff. And the users now have the ability to set mixed boundary conditions along with implicit and explicit boundary condition. And another feature that also has been added is unit support and especially the numeric engine has also been improved, especially handling inline assignments and when it comes to evaluations in matrix and unitless series in a matrix. So I actually had a very simple example of this. Inline assignment is actually, if you are a user that tend to work with very, very large matrices, it could actually take some time to evaluate, but if you evaluate right now, it's so much faster. So this is one of the improvements they made. So a more snappier performance. Multi-threading, well, I don't know if I posted a blog post here a few months ago, maybe that was a few weeks ago, and I just was raving over this multi-threading ability. But for your info, and as most of you users know, the multi-threading has been there in Prime for several years, but this time PTC, according to themselves, they totally refactored the algorithm to achieve some serious increase in performance. And I haven't been really able to test it myself because you got to have normally really, really large worksheets and have a lots of server independent calculations to really notice a difference. But if you are that user out there, please reach out to me because I would like to find out myself how much better this multi-threading experience is. The symbolic engine, well, there is a lot going on in the symbolic engine, but we just brief very, uh, just talk a little bit about this. There is a lot to be, you can find a lot in the documentation. If you go to the question mark over here and you go into the documentation, you can see all the improvements they made. So I just really took the really simple ones here. For instance, the new standard keyword, the keyword standard has been added to the overall toolset. So, which basically means you can allow to use big O notations when it comes to it series expansion, but it will also show the constant integration in indefined integrals. So what do we mean by that? Okay, so here is an example. Um, this is the same as the E logarithm EX. That's why I typed out both here. So if you want to expand this as a series, they will write it like this. But if you, oh sorry, not without the just series. But if you put the standard, the new standard keyword, it will actually put the big O notation for the next polymer. And if you go to integrals, and this is a very simple expression, and you evaluate it, and then you do the same thing again. You put the standard there, it will actually add that constant. And there is another example that we're showing in documentation here as well. If you have, if you do the integral over cosine, and you put the standard, you get the constant, but you don't need to use the underscore C1 constant. You could actually replace it like this with F, for instance. And then you will get another expression. Another improvement they also done is support for undefined. And well, I just show you a very simple one here. What it basically means that in the symbolic engine, now they added the word undefined, which is equivalent to the numeric engine's none statement. None stands for not a number. And it allows the symbolic engine to better handle the none class of functions. So it gives us the ability, for example, if I define A as not a number, and I do it and I define it as the same thing in this with using a symbolic engine, it will throw back undefined. So you can actually use these both. If you use the numeric engine, it will return not a number. If you use the symbolic engine, it will return undefined. So it kind of connects these two together. What else do we have? Ah, yeah, expanded use of the keyword fully. This is another example that I was looking at the documentation, but the fully keyword has been added for more use cases. And this is an example where they have added another use case. You have this integral, and this is without the keyword fully. And if you put fully, you get a more detailed solution. For instance, you add the conditions if a is not equal to 0, then this solution applies. Otherwise, if it's 0, then there's this solution. And another one, they also use max. So it's better to do like this. If you max, it will give you an even better one. So if I just type fully here, let's see. Nothing really happens. It's throwbacks to the same. But if I type in max, you will get a more, hopefully, more on a solution that it's more elaborated. General keyword improvements. Okay. It was mentioned earlier, there are more use cases for solved and simplified, and also keyword rewrite has been expanded with the 5 new modifiers as argument, a10-2, fact for factorization, sign, and 5. Um, and it allows the users to rewrite expressions in their respective terms. I personally don't really work a lot with these uh, keyword improve. I mean, with these kinds of problems, and I have not really come across many customer cases, asking the support how to use the symbolic engine. So, but if you have any questions of this, please reach out to me and we can take a look at it together. And of course, there is a lot in the documentation as well. Usability enhancement then. Well, here is the one thing that I know we have customers asking for a lot of this, and it's date functionality. In Prime 9 and previous generation, you didn't have the world date format. I mean, this year, month, day. So you were stuck with the way the Americans tend to write their dates. But now they finally added it, and they also have a system date format. So what is the difference then? Well, we can just why don't we put in the where is it? There it is. We have to go back to, we can do it here. There. You can see the difference. So that's how we in Sweden normally tend to write it. And if you do the system short date, that's actually the same. And the last one is system long date. So they are really nice to have, finally. Collapsible area. Well, you can now hide a border. This region is normally collapsed, and now just right click on the mouse and you can hide the area border. And this is even invincible when you print your worksheet. So when you print your worksheet, you will this plus sign will not be visible as well. It has its benefits if you really want to hide something, but it could be really tricky if you don't name this collapsed region anything. You put a note, here's a collapsed region. It could be really difficult to find it, but it is possible. And we did I make it in this? There we go. Show area bar. Expanded link functionality. Well, I don't know if many of you use this, but you can go here, for instance, you can tag and navigate internally in a document that was available in Prime 9, I think. You can jump back, but now you even have the ability to go to another area in another document, for instance, like this. So this is another document, example advanced controls. We will actually get back to this example in a few minutes. But how does this work? Well, essentially, it's the same process as you do before. You type in the search path, and at the end, you add the hashtag name. In this case, is results. So this is what it looks. So you put the full search path, and then you add the hashtag and the tag name results. In this case, the tag name was results in the other example in the other worksheet here. So that's how it works. Okay, moving on. It's a good thing to have. You can now directly open the worksheet that is referenced in the included worksheet region. So if I just hover over it, and if you include a worksheet, you can either cache the worksheet, or you can just how do you say? It should, every time you open it up, it opens the other worksheet. But if you cache it and the other worksheet is not available, it will still be included in this document. Bear in mind though, if you do cache the worksheets, your worksheet in general tends to get larger, of course, because you have to include the other things. But if you just hover over it and then you type over like that, and this is the butterfly effect worksheet I was talking about. Let's see if there's time for that, but we can share it with our customers later if you want. Okay, that was the general overview. Let's see, what time is it? So we have about 19 minutes left. Okay. So I just wanted to show you an example of advanced controls, more like inspiring. If you never come across it, I mean, it's a very common feature in Mathcad 15. It's also a very common feature, for example, in Microsoft Excel. But in this example, we will take a look at some of the possibilities that you can use advanced controls for to enhance and simplify some handling of plots. We will mostly focus on radio buttons, checkboxes, list boxes, and sliders. And for me personally, I tend to use the advanced controls when it comes to enhancing and visualizing your results. And this is an example. Let's see if this, I'm just going to explain it. This is how it looks if I were to do it in Prime 9. This is a typical fictional example in civil engineering. This is where you're actually showing you're doing measurements of soil and movements. So you have that this is the ground surface up here, and then you go down to 17 meters or so, and then you measure the profile change, how the soil moves. So you can see from different dates here. You can see how that moves, and this is the X direction and Y direction. And then I even plotted all the things, you look at the top and you plot everything. So you can see that the maximum deviation is, I don't know, roughly between 4.5 millimeters. Not sure which date it is, but this is what I would present in Prime 9. But with the new functionality, you can make it more visual using the advanced controls. So what I'm trying to show here, I'm looking at my screen to see what you can see. Yeah, okay. You can use checkboxes. If you think like, you can, in this case, choose which date and measurements are you interested to look at. So if we are just interested in looking at, only the ones from 2022, the last 3 measurements are of interest, you can just check them off like this. And you can see how the plot updates below, which makes it more easy to study like that. And what it basically means, I just highlighted here. I added, how did I do this? I actually added, if I push the first button, it's either 1 or 0. So how do I activate this? Well, I actually take the input and multiply it. So I take the trace data and either divide multiply it by 1 or 0, and that's how I achieve um, adding plots like this. So that could be one way to use checkboxes. And it doesn't have to be 0 or 1. It could be, you can actually type in anything you want. If you learn VB script or JScript, say for instance, it could be on and off, or you can type okay or not okay. I think I have an example of that a little bit later in this session. What else can we do? Well, here is another example where you can use, I just, incorporated every advanced controller I could think of. But say, for instance, here I used a list box, you can see here. And what I decided to do is, say, for instance, I mean, if you look at this one, you can see all the measurements from all the depths, like here. But say, for instance, I just want to take a look at a certain level. So now we have a section arrow here, looking at more or less at the top. It's actually minus 500 millimeters down there. But if I use this, say I just want to study the results on minus 16, you can see it changes there. It's just, and this, okay, we can do like this. Let's see. I'm just gonna a little bit more. There we go. And you can see whatever I put here in this list box, it will actually output. And this section arrow is moving, so you can see exactly where I'm looking at. It's also another way to enhance your plots using sliders. And these are other options you can use. These are radio buttons, so it basically means you have to choose either one of them. They cannot be all off. In this case, this is actually called the resolution, so it changes the format of this polar plot. And the radius, now it's 5 millimeters, but I use a slider here to change the radius if I want. Going back and forth. It's a much faster and smoother experience, in my opinion. And then you have the number of grid lines. You can actually change the number there as well to increase. So that's one example how you can use advanced control to enhance your plots. Just going to go back like that. And another one is, let's see, I haven't opened it yet. Excuse me. Just gonna like that. Another one to how to use advanced control is actually one advanced control could serve as an input to another advanced control. In this case, it's actually two list boxes. And if you have been a long time running Mathcad 15 user or previous version, this is actually the example that happened in documentation. So they have exactly the same one. They just brought it over to Prime 10. But what it basically means, if you have, for instance, if you want to choose material, cast iron, steel, etc., you can choose the first one there, and depending on your choice, it would actually give you another option of classes. So if you have steel here, the next list box will change, and then you can have an output. So how does this work? Well, actually, if I this is the material output, so that's why I put it there, material. So depending on what you're choosing, it will output cast iron. And then in the next one, you use that as an input. So how do I do that? You actually edit and you take add inputs, and then you can use this variable. And this is the output. And here comes the tricky part, and that's why I said I'm not going to show you exactly how to do it, because this is JavaScript and I'm learning it myself at the moment. But what it basically happens is if you go and edit this one, it's not that difficult that you can actually see what it's done here. So you just copy this row, listbox.add string, and then you type whatever you want, text string. And when you're done, you go down. You don't have to do anything about this. What it actually said, this function is, the first part is what should be outputted, what should be presented in the first list box. And the other function is, okay, what do you do when you select it? So they have a lot of, if you do like this, for instance, if you take a new list box example, you have 1, 2, 3, and you edit, oh yeah, sorry, you can't see it. I'm gonna do a screen dump again. And if you edit this one, oops, there we go. It will say 1, 2, 3. So if I type this as AA. So you can get pretty good. You can get a long way just in inserting an advanced control, and you can figure out how to go from there. But what I wanted to showcase you, and you can find this in the documentation. So you put the material, and then you go here. This is a screen dump again, and you can see here they added a label variable that's called maths for materials, and if it's equal to steel, then you should add this in the list box. If it's equal to wrought iron, you should add this, and so on. So this first part is just determining what should be listed in the list box, and then the other part is what should you do when you select it. So my I have an idea here that I want to. If you reach out to us, we're gonna create a lot of templates for different use cases, examples. So because at least I think it's not expected for users to know how to do JavaScript. So we would like to put up some examples that you can use. So we will get back to that. But that's what I wanted to showcase. There is a possibility. There are definitely situations where this is beneficial for sure. But if you're a long-time Mathcad user, you know there are other ways to achieve the same result using if statements or using, for example, advanced controls in Excel and so on. But this is more fluid. I think it's very snappy. So. And let's see how much time we have. 7 minutes. Okay, we're gonna actually do some conversion too. But I can, for those customers interested in this, this is a short introduction to the butterfly effect, IA chaos theory. But what I wanted to show you here, straight out of context, more or less, it's making it more visual to visualize the butterfly effect. And the butterfly effect is like well, or the Lorentz attractor. It's called. It's a kind of like a provoking thought, like the flapping the flapping wings of a butterfly in Brazil could set off a storm on the other side of the world. And it's just showing how chaos theory works. So what this means is actually you have more or less two different initial conditions, two different states, but they are slightly different, just a little bit different, and they act the same way at the beginning, and later on in the simulation they are ending up at totally different places. So in this case, bad weather or good weather. So if you look at this is a certain type of weather condition, and this is another one, the blue one. So like I said, anyone interested in this could check this out later. But what I wanted to show with the slider here, you can use a quasi-static animation now, which is not, not really possible in Prime 9 and previous versions. So I use the slider here now to simulate an animation. So these are two different equations or two different set of states, and they just have a little tiny difference on the, and there you can see somewhere here it starts to behave differently. So that's what I wanted to show. You can use that, and for instance, if you are working with structured engineering, you can visualize eigenfrequencies for beam or frame structures, for instance, using a slider and apply it in the right way so you can actually plot it. I'm just going to drive it to the end here. And you can try different slopes dealing with equations, for example. There are lots of possibilities here. So that's what I just wanted to show you. You now have the possibility to do somewhat animation-like plots if you want to. And let's do the last part here. If you're working in Mathcad 15, and I'm gonna switch, hang on. I disabled the Visual Basic script. So you can zoom in a little bit. So I just made a very, very simple thing we're gonna convert this to see what happens. So I just did, the conversion tool has been converting a lot of things from Mathcad 15 to Prime 10. So I just took up some of the new features as an example and see how the conversion handles this. So that's why it's very random things here. But I imported some, I typed down some subscripts and superscripts. This is a superscript, and then we have some, subscript, and then we have some superscripts over there. And then I more or less took every active control that I could find, sliders and hang on, and I actually did this on-off button. And I did this on purpose to check the status, but this doesn't work, which is, I'm a little bit confused why it doesn't work. But what I tried to do here, I was trying to do, it should output okay or not okay. And then we have the please push button, is either 0 or 1, and then I took a web control radar button. And this is a text string, so you can put anything you want here, 78, and it will put out that. And then we have the superscript and subscript and superscript collapse. I just named the region, and then I just took a plot, any random plot here. So what we're gonna do is now we're going back to, I'm going back to the conversion tool. This won't work with, there we go. Here is the conversion. You add the worksheets you wanna do. There we go. And you convert it like that. So let's see what happens here. And there we go, you have the results. So Well, there are 8 display differences. 5 of them script may need some changes to run. Radio buttons group was converted to a combo box, and the list box combo box was converted to a combo box as well. So, and plot labels are not supported. And now the features, you can just open it right away from here. And we're just gonna switch again to another window. Um, let's see, there we go. So this is what the conversion looks like. So you see there are some slight differences, but I should point out, we have users that have really large worksheets with a lot of subscripts and superscripts, and you can see now it's converted, so it will save you a lot of time, a lot of time. The active controls are, wait, I should actually reforce clear annotations, and we should reforce always calculate a converted sheet. So option here, it's converted as a list combo box, but I didn't really want that. I actually wanted to have this one instead. So this need a little bit rework. The slider seems to work fine. The on off seems to work fine. You have to, well, you can actually, just edit it a little bit. This doesn't convert, and the push button works fine, and the web radio buttons was converted to a combo box instead. But what I wanted instead of a combo box in this case is actually the list box. So it's probably here, if you have a lot of list boxes and you want to still have them as a list box, it's better to actually write a new one. And I'm running out of time a little bit here, so I'm just gonna write like that, and you can go in and change it here. I'm just gonna do it fast. You won't be able to see it, but option 1, option 2, apply. So I think this is still much more snappier than using a list box, but it's it's a style of preference. Status. This is also what I wanted to highlight. Is actually if I add another checkbox, I wanted to do a checkbox like this. I'm just gonna write it B, and then I'm gonna write it like this. It should either put out, oh, okay, you can't see it, but it's very easy to change there. And radio buttons, well, it's the same thing as more or less as it's more or less the same as a list box. I'm just gonna show it how it looks like there. And text string works. Collapsible areas works, but you still cannot name a collapsible area. And the plotting functionality converts, but it doesn't support labels and legends. So if you have a lot of plottings, you could actually recreate this functionality, but you need to use the combo box. No, sorry, not combo box, chart component, and you're able to recreate it from here. So moving on from Mathcad 15 to Prime 10, subscripts and active controls are getting converted more or less the same. You still need to put in some manual effort if you want to preserve the appearance from Mathcad 15 to Prime. And yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Excellent. So thank you everybody for attending this webinar. Thank you, Johan, for presenting today. And if you have any questions or inquiries about this latest release, please reach out to either Vivian or to Johan. And we'll be back soon with another episode.
thank you. Take care,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye
Bye.
bye.